I'm Joe Haskin, and today I'm going to be giving my persuasive speech on the topic of psilocybin. So, to get some background information out of the way, the government actually has scheduling systems that are used to determine how dangerous a drug is. Schedule 5 being the least dangerous, and Schedule 1 being considered the most dangerous. And today we're going to be looking specifically at the Schedule 1 system, which means that drugs put in this category have no use medicinally and have a high chance of abuse and addiction. And today I'm going to be showing you why the Schedule 1 substance psilocybin has a bunch of use medicinally and has a low probability for abuse and addiction. So to start off, we're going to be talking about abuse. So psilocybin addiction is actually really interesting because you take one dose and reach the desired effects the next time, you'd have to take exponentially more, meaning it builds off itself after each consecutive dose. So, as stated by drugspolicy.org, the human body quickly builds a tolerance to psilocybin, such that people require much higher doses after only a few days of repeated use, making it extremely difficult to have an effect after only 4 days of repeated use. So what this is saying is that this is such an anti-addictive substance that it'd be essentially impossible to abuse after only 4 days, even if you really want to abuse it after 4 days. And people have such profounding and life-changing experiences with this substance that it'd be, it wouldn't be right not to mention that, why people want to say it's too intense and they put it down. So from the same source, psilocybin is not considered to be addictive, nor does it have compulsive use. One reason is that the experience is intense, which can be physically and mentally challenging. This may cause people using psilocybin to limit their frequency of use. So like I just said, psilocybin, a lot of people can't abuse it because they simply don't want to. It's not that type of substance. And when you don't have people abusing this substance, it really doesn't make any sense for it to be in that scheduling system. So this brings me to the next part, which is its medicinal uses. So psilocybin actually has various medicinal uses, and even if I had all day, I'd only be reaching the tip of the iceberg. But a really cool one I wanted to focus on was neurogenesis. And psilocybin has actually been found to promote neurogenesis. And now what neurogenesis is it helps repair damaged tissue in the brain and form new pathways and connections. So in one instance where neurogenesis is going to be extremely beneficial is actually in cases where people are addicted to things like heroin or cocaine, because it helps rewire their brain and promotes a certain level of neurogenesis to where they're not addicted to that substance anymore. So, as stated from psychologytoday.com, at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, a trial of psilocybin-assisted therapy for cocaine users is underway. In February, a team of researchers affiliated with Boston University and Harvard Medical School, among other institutions, published a study in the Journal of Psychopharmacology reporting that illicit opioid users were markedly less risk of becoming dependent on opioids had they experience with psychedelics. And psychedelics, in this case, includes psilocybin. So not only can psilocybin help rewire your brain so you think differently and repair neural pathways, it can actually change them so you have a protection against far more dangerous illicit substances. So, alright, this is what I like to call the other side. And it would not be a proper persuasive speech if I do not mention the other side of the argument. Now, the other side of the argument is people say, well, there's too many irresponsible users for psilocybin to be legal. And yeah, that is a really good point. but you have to think about what could be done if it was used responsibly. And probably the strongest argument is that psilocybin can bring on a possible psychosis. So, according to Zurich Psychiatric Hospital, psilocybin, an indole aminohallucinogen, produces a psychosis-like syndrome in humans that resembles the first episode of schizophrenia. So, what this is saying is that essentially psilocybin can produce psychotic mental illnesses like psilocybin. And we'll continue on this. So, according to therecoveryvillage.com, while using psilocybin, it can't cause schizophrenia or other long-lasting psychotic disorders. It can trigger their onset or mask their symptoms. When symptoms of psychosis persist even after a person stops using psilocybin, it usually indicates that they have an underlying psychotic disorder. So, what I just said is that it can bring on schizophrenia, but it will not give you schizophrenia. That's the big difference. So, if someone is already prone to mental health issues, psilocybin can in fact bring on that. And that can be as a part of their genetics or their environment or whatever that caused that to be that way. So I believe that psilocybin, like really, if it wasn't in the high scheduling system it would be for the betterment of the majority of people. While yeah, some people I believe would still have to avoid taking the substance because they might be prone to schizophrenic symptoms and stuff like that. So, alright, this brings me to my conclusion. So, think about the fact that, so the DEA says Schedule 1 drugs, substances, or chemicals are defined as drugs with no currently accepted medical use and a high potential for abuse. Now, think about that system, that schedule, and think if psilocybin fits in there in any way. So think to yourself, does it have a high potential for abuse? And think to yourself finally, does it have medical uses? Which I hope now you think it does. So, thank you.